also the voter apathy may account for the lack, the significant number of people not wanting to take part in the voting, apart from those who would have died and those who would have fallen sick. But I think that
Doc, I want to understand why you believe that the voter turnout may be high, because as we understand, 2016 was also quite a crucial election, and the voter turnout was just around 69%, with close to 11 million people out of the registered 15 million voters turning out to vote.
Well, if you look at the way, I'm yet to see the kind of campaigning strategy the two main political parties have adopted. Now, you could see that the Dr. Bawumia and that of Mr. Muhammad, they are hell-bent on ensuring that they whip up sentiment so that each from their own support base will be able to go and vote, and those who are not from their support base will be able to go and vote. But you can never in any way have a full percentage in terms of voter turnout. But I think that because the stakes are quite high, unless people have the fear that the military is going to be embroiled in the whole process, and having seen what happened in Tichiman South, and we are yet to see some kind of justice, people may think that, well, I'm coming to good job for this particular, person or groups of persons. Why would I have to waste my time? I have to go to my farm. But you see, the day, which is a Saturday, don't forget that the SDA's probably majority may not want to vote, but there are others who are ready and willing to vote. But the day falling on a Saturday, apart from days that are taboos, I think that if not an issue of farming, other than that, the turnout should have been very high. But I think it's just a matter of projection. But I think that I feel the stakes are quite high, and everybody will want their, support base to go and vote, and then whip up the sentiment of where they know they have less support to also go and vote. I've listened to a few of my friends who are MPP, and they tell me that wherever they've been to, even in their strongholds, the NDC has been there. And so he's quite surprised that something of that sort is happening. So that is the more reason why I feel that the turnout will be quite high. And this information I'm giving you is just yesterday.
Right. So does that mean that the NDC has had a lot more visibility than the NPP?
Certainly. Don't forget that though it was quite ridiculous, Professor Smart, the data that he brought before this current one, said that Dr. Bawumia is more popular than someone, but NDC is more popular.
Right.
So if use that, inherent illogicality or lack of correlation in that particular analogy, then it means that the NDC has really, really worked so hard. And I think that they have really, really, gone to the nooks and crannies of this country.
Okay. Finally, before I let you go, you talked about the fact that because of other factors, including the election day being a weekend, we are likely to have a high voter turnout. Who stands to benefit?
That's a tough one. Barring voter apathy and, haven't heard someone who is from the MPP fold, who is part of the Bawumia's campaign team, so to speak, and giving me that insider information, I think that the main opposition stands to benefit because if it is a matter of the party in government just winning, then most of the support base of the minorities or the opposition would think that, well, they are going to win anyway. But if they come in their numbers, then certainly, I think that the opposition will be more, advantageous than the party in government, because the party in government, they know their support base. And so if they see more new faces coming up, then it means that these are people that you cannot consider as yours.
Doc, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you. I've been engaging Dr. Jonathan Asante-Ochoa. He's a political analyst. But Ijabing, contrary to what you said or your projections, that's what he had to say.
He's the analyst. He understands the politics more than I do.
Okay.
But
you understand the numbers.
Yeah, the issues he's mentioned, the issues are the same thing.
They cannot be overlooked, right?
It cannot be overlooked. And I want to side with him, but I'll still speak to the numbers.
Okay.
That I don't see a voter turnout to go beyond 78%.
Okay.
I don't see it happen at all.
Okay.
But let's see what happens. He says grassroots would be, so people will be consolidating their gains in their strongholds, except the swing regions where I don't know what they are going to do.
You know what? That thing he said actually makes a lot of sense to me, because if you paid attention to what is happening now, the NDC is being taxful. They have actually invaded the Ashanti region, because polls have come out to say that, or they are likely going to poll about 29%. Musa Danko has said even 30% for them. So it makes sense that they would be strategic enough to want to invade the Ashanti region. I know the minority leader, Ato Forson, is there. Okujeto Ablakwa, and then there's Felix Ofosu-Kwakye. These are all strategies.
The MPP strategists will also tell you that they've used all their arsenals. They got Kufuor to speak. And you've noticed the manner of their campaign now they're using tree,
which appeals to a certain populace.
Exactly.
Right.
So they are also mopping up and consolidating their gains in their strongholds. So it's tough, but let's see what happens. But for me, I don't see voter turnout go beyond 78%.
I see.
It will be very wild.
Okay, certainly. But let's talk about what we are to expect on the poll talk tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we'll talk about the swing regions. Greater Accra being number one. Greater Accra, if you look at the data...
But how many swing regions are there in Ghana? For the US, we can confidently say 8. But in Ghana?
I don't want to give a number now.
Okay.
I don't want to give a number now because it can change. It can change. But the Greater Accra is key.
Okay.
It's key because over here, you are not readily able to tell whether this one is winning or not. The polls are suggesting, though, that the incumbent will lose in this region.
So it may go for the green corner.
Exactly.
I see.
But in 2016, if you look at data, 2016, the opposition won. In 2020,
the opposition, you mean the NPP?
The NPP won. In 2020, the incumbent lost. 2016, the issues that were prevalent then are still the same today.
Right.
So doesn't mean that the NDC will win in this region if you're just looking at the general sentiments. But let's see what happens.
Certainly. Thank you very much. Imandoli Japing, he's my colleague on the research desk. Joining me here for the poll talk. You're still listening to Starr today. We are back with more stories after this break. Don't go away.
From the classroom to the lab, from the village to the city, the NPP's commitment to education is building a brighter Ghana. Free SHS isn't just about free tuition, it's an investment in Ghana's future. We have topped it up with free TVET and STEM education, skilled graduates, innovative thinkers, and a thriving economy. That's the promise of free SHS.
3 of my cousins have benefited from free SHS since 2017. One has graduated and is in nursing training. The other 2 are also in the university. I'll vote number 1. I'll vote for Baumia on December 7th.
We are building a better tomorrow through education. Vote NPP. Vote number 1. Vote Baumia. Baumia means business. Estro.
Presidential and parliamentary elections 2024.
The Electoral Commission of Ghana is constitutionally mandated to conduct presidential and parliamentary elections on Saturday, 7 December 2024. Voting will start at 7 a.m. prompt and end at 5 p.m. Please report at the polling station as early as you can to cast your vote. Bring along your voter ID card so you can easily be identified. Even if you don't have your voter ID card, still go to the polling station. A name reference list officer will check your particulars in the names reference list. A verification officer will verify your identity as a registered voter with a verification device. You will be issued a presidential ballot paper. Please check to see that there are no marks on it. Also, ensure it has a validation stamp at the back. Make your way to the voting booth. Thumbprint correctly your choice of presidential candidate and cast your vote. Proceed to the next polling assistant for a parliamentary ballot paper. Make your way to the voting booth Thumbprint correctly your choice of MP and cast your ballot. Please leave the polling station after casting your ballot. You may return at the close of polls for counting of ballots. Have a say in issues that affect you. Exercise your right to vote.
Your vote is your future.
Hey, Mapadi, so you still haven't gotten any job in the last 6 years?
Bro, I'm even getting depressed, Charlie. If you don't have any money to get trained in any skill, Charlie, you can't survive in this economy. Even those with big degrees are sitting at home.
There's good news coming. Have you heard of the National Apprenticeship Program?
National Apprenticeship Program?
Yes, John Mahama and the NDC will be launching a National Apprenticeship Program in 2025 to offer free technical and vocational training to all persons desirous of learning a craft.
Did you say free?
Yes, free technical and vocational training in carpentry, ceramics, welding, tiling, hairdressing, vulcanizers, fashion designing, electricals, POP, catering, and many others for young people who sign on to the program. People who complete the training will also be issued a certificate and provided with a startup capital and equipment to establish their own businesses.
You don't mean it.
You shock, eh? The National Apprenticeship Program is the hope of every unemployed Ghanaian.
Charlie, then we need to kick out these liars and nation wreckers and bring back JM. Because Sankofa Yenchi.
Vote for change. Vote for John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
The pandemic has had a generally deleterious effect on the economy of African nations. This has devastated many African economies and sunk them deeper into unsustainable debt and economic downturn.
Remember these words from former President Mahama. Now, as campaign season heats up, he is pointing fingers at the current administration. Is this not for political gain? Ghanaians deserve genuine solutions, not mere propaganda. We face global challenges together. Let's seek a leader who offers plans and progress, not just critiques. Let's build Ghana up, not tear it down. Vote number 1. Vote for Baumia. Vote for the MPP.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
You're welcome back from the break. This is still Starr today. Now, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Starr, has released a close to 200-page detailed report on the National Cathedral project, recommending the cancellation of the contract and possible prosecution of the Board of Trustees. Well, this comes on the back of a petition by the North Tongue MP Samuel Tutuwaa for Starr to investigate the secretary to the National Cathedral Board of Trustees, Reverend Kwesi Boateng, over claims of conflicts of interest, alleged possession of multiple identities, and other alleged improprieties. But after close to 2 years of investigation, Starr reports has cleared Reverend Kwesi Boateng of allegations regarding the possession of dual passports under different names. Unfortunately, Jamin is still here in the studios and he's joined us with the details of that. Jamin, what more is contained in that report?
Well, the report is quite heavy. It's the NDC tag as the world's most expensive bit. But you could also say it's
costing
the
about
world's
$58.1 million.
world's most expensive promise made by a president
to God,
King Solomon. But if you look at the reports, it's heavy. But let's start from the day the complaint was lodged, 16 January 2023. Right. The complaint was titled Petition for an Investigation into State Funds Paid to JNS Talent Center Limited by the Controller and Accountant General's Department and the National Cathedral of Ghana pursuant to Article 218 of the 1992 Constitution, against with plenty things. But what were the reliefs that were being really sought by Samuel Tutuwaa when he made that particular complaint? One, he was asking for the investigation to the appointment of contractors for the National Cathedral. He was asking for an investigation to the payment of some 2,600,000 Ghana cedis to GNS Talent Center Limited. As well, he was asking for an investigation into matters of conflict of interest against Reverend Victor Kwesi Boateng in the dual capacity under separate identities. Number 4, he was asking for them to take an appropriate action or steps for the remedying, restraining, correcting, or reversal of offending conduct or actions. And really, he was asking for a recommendation on sanctions for offending conduct and actions. Now, when the commission sat on page 58 of that particular document, you could find the key findings over there. Like I said, it's a voluminous documents, and I'm trying to skim through and get some of the details. On page 58, you could see some of the key findings, a summary of them, and then quite critical of that particular statement. They are saying that the National Cathedral of Ghana did not strictly comply with the rules of public procurement provided for under Act 663 or as amended by Act 914 when it purported to select and award the contract for the construction of the National Cathedral to Rebat Limited. According to them, the contract was awarded for the construction, but it was awarded under illegal terms, and they are describing it as void ab initio. Let's not go deep down into that. Let's look at the decision of the commission and really the observation and then their recommendation. I think I'll rather touch on the recommendations. It's quite important now. They are saying that most importantly, for the recommendations, they are saying, I'm trying to get the key one that people will be quite interested in. They are saying that further investigation and possible prosecution of the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral must happen over the award of the contract to Rebat the company in disregard of Act 663 as amended. They say these breaches of procurement laws have the potential of causing international embarrassment of the country, considering its international status and that of Rebat Company Limited. But it's quite also critical for us to know that Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng has been cleared of conflict of interest, and they are saying he does not own 2 passports with different names.
Just one.
Just one.
Right. Thank you very much, Ijabin. Let's go over the phone lines now and engage Adam Sedan, who is an anti-corruption crusader. Adam, thank you very much. Let me take your initial thoughts on this report released by Starr pertaining to the National Cathedral project.
So very embarrassing and disappointing as well. Embarrassing because of the stature and caliber of persons on the Board of Trustees that one would have hoped would have sought the kind of technical expertise to prevent this kind of issue. And disappointing precisely because they didn't get the necessary advice, and they appear to have breached procurement laws, for which reason Starr is making recommendations on for money audits as well as investigation and potential procurement. Extremely embarrassing and disappointing.
Right, but I mean, I understand you say it's embarrassing, but the Starr is recommending that an investigation and possible prosecution be conducted on the Board of the Trustees of the National Cathedral. Is that not welcome news enough?
I'm not quite sure you said that, because I just spoke to that. I said especially because the board did not get the adequate technical advice to prevent such breaches of our law. Starr says that they breached Act 663, and for that reason, that's why they are recommending the investigation and so on and so forth. And I'm saying that's disappointing, because one would expect that a board of this caliber would have been mindful to ensure that adequate expertise in terms of those who are procurement experts, legal experts, were available to ensure that they didn't breach any of such laws.
But I mean, the Board of the Public Procurement Authority should intervene to cancel the contracts of the construction of the National Cathedral between the National Cathedral and Rebate Company, as it has the power to do so under the Procurement Act. This is what is contained in the Starr document. Is this not something that is workable for you as an anti-corruption crusader?
Well, yes, I think that the recommendations to me, if a public procurement authority is seized with that mandate and can say that, look, this process does not follow what was required by law, then it stands to reason that contracts that need to be cancelled will have to be cancelled. If they have to be reissued, it just means that there are implications, because if monies have been paid, it means that we've already lost some resources. So, to the extent that the Public Procurement Authority sees that of mandate and can do so, and that the facts are clear, that is something that they ought to act on in response to the recommendation.
All right, but really, moving forward, how do you expect this issue to be dealt with? Because you have clearly stated that the report is embarrassing.
Yes, so I think that the recommendations of or a value for money audit by the auditor general, I think it should be executed. They've asked for further investigation, and at the end of the day, that probably would exonerate some people, whilst it might identify some people who have engaged in actions that they want to have. I think that these are all well-meant recommendations that provide much more. I think that the composition of boards should always take on board the expertise required for execution. If you don't have procurement experts, project management experts, finance and accounting experts on boards that are supposed to supervise such kinds of actions and projects, we are just going to continue running ourselves into trouble. So this was a very unfortunate situation where I think that the board should have been much better composed to ensure that they could deliver on the mandate that was provided to them.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time this evening on the bulletin. I've been engaging Edem Senanu. He's an anti-corruption crusader. But let's get some reaction from Okujeto Blaka, who was a complainant in the main issue. And in a statement, he says that 1, the contracts awarded to rebate by the Board of Trustees is illegal and void, as it violates Ghana's procurement laws. 2, the Board of Trustees did not seek concurrent approval from the Central Tender Review Committee. Now 3, the procurement breaches raise reasonable suspicion of corruption and related offences. He goes on and on and on, and then he comes to say that, strangely, Starr failed to seriously look into the double identity conduct of Reverend Victor Kwesi Boateng or Kwabna Edu Jemfi, despite overwhelming evidence placed before it and despite a High Court judgment on the matter. One thing is clear: Ekufado's National Cathedral project stands exposed as a blasphemously grand create, loot and share scheme whose perpetrators, Starr insists, must be prosecuted for God and country. Ghana affairs. Away from that development, let's talk about energy now. How has the recent power fluctuations affected your livelihood? Now, a section of the populace have criticized a directive by the Electricity Company of Ghana insisting users of the Nuri prepaid meter top-up with at least 1 month's worth of credits. This follows ECG's warning of potential power supply interruptions for users of the Nuri prepaid meter. In a statement, ECG explained that the disruption was due to an urgent upgrade of our STS metering system. So, what do you as a consumer make of this? Let's listen to what you've had to say.
So buying, even sometimes buying for just a week or two is even a challenge for most people. So if suddenly you are going to endure this as to buy for a whole month, and you know Christmas time is coming, we have other expenses that you have to deal with. And so if this is an unplanned something that you suddenly have to dig out of your pocket in these times, it's going to be a huge challenge for most people.
Buying prepaid ahead of time again. Most of the people who are into this kind of business can afford it. I don't see like a lot of people, maybe people who are running big businesses like, but the other, like let's say local people like this, those who don't have, let's say big business, like African Delights, they're not big as compared to places like Alisa Hotel and other places. So I think it will affect us when it comes to, because you know the system is how will I say it, is aishi.
It's going to worry. Others will be worried. Others will not worry them in terms of financial status of this country and others. So maybe me, I can buy, but somebody cannot buy. Some people have been buying 100 cedis 3 days. So such person, imagine 1 month. You see, if you divide it to a year in normal terms now, it's what others.
Well, a former Power Minister and MP for Pro East has been reacting, but let's now get a reaction from Apia Kusi Adomako, who is the West Africa Regional Director of CAT International. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this evening. Now, first of all, what do you make of this announcement from the ECG? Is it a step in the right direction, really?
Thank you very much, Tutuwaa, and you're happy, and all your listeners on Starr FM. I think ECG is sending an information to consumers, which is part of their public education, that they anticipate some upgrade and that might cause system glitches. So people should buy credits that can last them for a month. I think that ECG is not well informed about how people get income in this country. Because in this country, some people live their life on a daily basis. They live their life like untaught. If they don't go out tomorrow to go and work, they will not get the money for the following day. And so if you tell people to buy prepaid for a month, and this is not a small money, depending upon your consumption, monthly consumption, I think that the information is the notice is a very good notice, but asking people to stockpile for 1 month of energy, I don't think that it is fair to tell consumers that they should buy. So it means that if you don't have the money to pay for 1 month credit, then you are going to find yourself in darkness in case the network goes bad during the upgrade. And we expect that the PURC should come in and tell ECG to make sure that they minimize any disruption that might occasion from this network upgrade.
Doc, I understand your point, saying that the ECG did good by giving Ghanaians heads up, but let's talk about the Nuri meters especially. How many people really know even how this meter looks like?
That is also another issue, because we live in a country where there are 10,000 of different meters, depending upon who wins a contract. Meters are not even standardized. Last week, for example, people started complaining that their meters were reading fast, and PURC said they were going to investigate. And whether that investigation, the outcome of the investigation, lies on a single result that PURC will bring is something that people don't know. I think we need to move away from the over 10,000 types of different meters that we have and get a standardized meter, because though meters can be standardized, yes, but if you have multiplicity of meters, the tendency that a meter might go wrong is very, very high. And I think that going forward, people should, the whole system is geared towards procurement. We give contract A to one person to get 50,000 meters. Person B gets a contract to supply 100,000 meters. And so the whole thing is a procurement scheme, and this is also causing a problem. I think that PURC or the next energy minister should try as much as possible to make sure that we all go on a very good meter and stop different class of meters that have littered the whole country. That sometimes is difficult in terms of whether one is inferior or one is superior in terms of its reading.
Absolutely. Finally, Doc, before I let you go, you have talked about the fact that some people live on hand-to-mouth basis in this country. So going forward, what should consumers really do?
I think consumers should make a complaint to PURC and ask PURC to tell ECG that, look, it's not possible, it's not permitted in this country to tell people to stockpile energy for 1 month, and that based upon the data, if they go to statistical service, they can tell us how much money people earn in a day, and the average Ghanaian, the money that a person gets, what is the chances that the money can buy the whole credit that's required for the month. Mind you, energy tariffs have gone up, and so asking people to buy them in a month ahead, I think that you'll be asking too much from the people who don't have the deep pocket to do so.
Thank you very much for speaking to us on the bulletin. I've been engaging Apiakusi Adomako. He's with CATS International. This is still Starr today. We are back with more stories after the break.
I go Ghana for. Let us gather here.
Eja, but why have you called us all here?
His Excellency John Dramani Mahama says he is coming to introduce a 24-hour economy policy that will ensure round-the-clock operations by businesses and government organizations to enhance productivity, boost production, and create millions of decent, well-paying jobs.
24-hour economy? Can you enlighten us?
Oh, simple. GM wants organizations with huge customer smart traffic like DVLA, passport office, ports, customs, as well as private businesses like agro-processing factories, industries, sanitation, construction companies to run 3 shifts of 8 hours each. For private businesses, Mahama will give them security support services, tax incentives, financing support, and cheap and reliable power. This is what we call Formula 133.
But what formula is that?
It simply means 1 job, 3 shifts, 3 people. Simple.
Wow, this is indeed a game changer.
Formula 133.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
The pandemic has had a generally deleterious effect on the economy of African nations. This has devastated many African economies and sunk them deeper into unsustainable debt and economic downturn.
Remember these words from former President Mahama. Now, as campaign season heats up, he is pointing fingers at the current administration. Is this not for political gain? Ghanaians deserve genuine solutions, not mere propaganda. We face global challenges together. Let's seek a leader who offers plans and progress, not just critiques. Let's build Ghana up, not tear it down. Vote number 1. Vote for Baumia. Vote for the MPP.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
You're welcome back from the break. Up next on the broadcast is my favorite part, campaign trail. It is some 13 minutes to the top of the hour and 12 days to the main polls. And tonight on the campaign trail, we continue our conversation with a man with a very distinct voice when he's booming and chanting the name of his presidential candidates. Now, he was involved in student politics and served as the president of the Student Representative Council of the University of Ghana between 1994 and 1996. And despite being a young man, he was appointed as the Deputy National Campaign Manager for the late President Mills' term and the National Campaign Coordinator for the 2012 President Mahama team. And by dint of hard work, he has served as a Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Local Governments and Rural Development, Minister for Youth and Sports, and until recently was the NDC's Director of Elections. My guest is certainly beyond politics. And he's a lay preacher and a seasoned political campaign strategist. Whenever he grabs the microphone, it is all energy. And you can't help but wonder how he does the signature Mahama chants. Seated in the studios is Elvis Ifriye Ankra. Remember that we love to get interactive, so connect with us on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM. You can also send us your WhatsApp messages on the number 055-288-0216. Again, it's 055-288-0216. Elvis.
Yes.
It's good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you too. I'm happy you are here. The last time you ran away.
I had to.
So today you are here.
Right.
Me and you today.
But let's start off on this note. Over the weekend is what some people would describe as a weekend of polls, right?
Okay.
We've had Musa Dankwa coming in with his polls, and then Smartap. I think we touched on it briefly before I left. As a campaign strategist, would you say that polls inure to the benefit of anybody?
Polls give an indication of what people think. Polls are not election results.
Right.
So let's say, hypothetical situation, the polls say you're winning an election by 60%, 58%, 51%, 52%. And that is what will happen, all things being equal on the day. Now, say for example, on the day of the elections, there's a heavy rain and in your stronghold. The rains, you don't have a contingency plan. Okay, roads are blocked. Maybe people have to go through rivers, they have to go through canoes. And you don't have a contingency plan to bring them to the polling stations to vote. The polls may have indicated prior to the poll that this is what is going to happen, but it can affect you. So the polls definitely give an indication. Number one. Number two, you have to look at what do you call it? The population, the data. Okay, so what is the basis of the poll? How wide is it? What are the demographics that a poll is looking at? So, for example, if you want to do a poll and you focus maybe your respondents mainly in Ashanti region, you're likely to get a certain type of result. So you look at the demographics too. You understand me? And then you look at the sample size. So all these variables matter. So I say that if you want to look at a poll, you must look at the poll based on the underlying data. And what makes, say, somebody like Musa Dankwa's own unique is that there's been a certain consistency.
His is unique.
Yes, consistency. And I'm not saying this because it favors us. What I'm telling you is factual. There's been a consistency. Okay, over the past 2-3 years, consistently. For example,
so Musa Dankwa's polls are consistent.
Consistent. Okay. When we're going to Ascend North, he got it right to almost the decimal point. Okay. You take polls from Fitch, Standard & Poor, Economist Intelligence Unit, consistently, and this is over decades, years, not just polls in Ghana, but polls abroad. Consistently, they always get it right. So if I'm going to look at poll, I'll look at internal polls, the Musa Dankwas, the smart.
Sapon.
Somebody said on smart.
Smart Sapon. That's his name.
Smart Sapons and all those polls. I look at all of them. And then I look at a certain trend. Okay. And then I look at the sources of data and look at the methodology. And even the people they will send to the field. For example, and I have to say this, many months ago, I was getting calls from a certain university that they've sent us on a poll, and the way they are doing the poll, the intention is to come out with a certain outcome. I had this information long ago. Okay. So, but I will not dismiss any poll, neither will I take any poll as gospel. Okay. The polls give you a certain indication that this is likely to happen when A, B, or C happens. But you need to get out your people to vote on the day. For me, that is critical. Where we are now, thank God for all the polls, but we need to work and get our people out on it. This is the most sensitive
talking
period.
about thanking God because some of the polls look really good for your party. So Professor Smartapong poll, for instance, talked about the fact that the elections are likely to end up in a runoff. Do you think that will happen?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Based on what?
Based on the consistent polling, okay, by other entities, including independent entities. I've talked about the international polls, Fitch, Standard & Poor, Economist Intelligence Unit, who always get it right, not only in Ghana, but in other countries. I would put more premium on their polls than even any other poll. And I'm saying that even for Musa Dankwa, who is Ghanaian and whose polls, somebody will say favors us, he has a certain track record, okay? You saw us in North. And even some incidents, some issues that happen, you know, even before the Afrobarometer reports came out, you saw the trend. So, for example, you can't have an Afrobarometer report that says that over 85% of Ghanaians feel that the country is on the wrong track. And then those same 85% of Ghanaians will go and vote for the same party that they believe created the problem.
Right.
So those are the scientific variables. You
That
have
you look out for.
a Mo Ibrahim report that says that people have lost confidence in the sitting government. They've lost confidence in the judiciary. You have Ghana Living Standards Survey. You have the Statistical Service. You have all these are scientific, independent entities that do analysis of our situation, and they tell you, they point to a certain trajectory that change is coming.
Okay. That's
Again,
fine.
what I say is that don't look at the poll and go to sleep. It's just like
And be
prophecy. The
complacent.
last time I was talking about prophecy. The two are related. Prophecy gives you an indication that this is what is in the mind of God. Okay? But you don't take the prophecy and go to sleep. Because 1 Timothy 1:18 says that take the prophecies and go to war. People read one part and forget the other part. You take those prophecies that give you an indication of what is in the mind of God, and then you now have to battle so you don't go to sleep.
Okay. Now, talking about change coming, how ready is the NDC for the 2024 election?
We are very, 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 very ready.
How ready?
As ready as one could be. Ready, 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 ready.
I see.
Ready for the change.
Now, since
We're
you
all
are
set.
here, do me the honors and help me and my audience understand what does 24-hour economy mean, because over the period, the conversation has been that the NDC cannot even explain its own policy. It's just a vote-buying gimmick to get people to vote for them, because clearly the unemployment situation in the country cannot be overlooked. And I think that is one of the things that this policy seeks to achieve. So what is really the 24-hour economy policy? What is that?
Okay, so first of all, as a party, what we seek to do is to transform the country and respond to the needs of the people. Again, if you look at all the polls, it tells us that the biggest priority of Ghanaians is jobs, jobs, jobs. And then following that is the economy, then education and health. So what we want to do is to respond to those needs. That's number one. Number two, you don't use the same thinking that created a problem to solve the problem. You know, so there's a saying that if you keep repeating the same thing and expect different results, it's akin to what? Insanity. So by the time we were leaving office in 2016, the unemployment rate was about 8.4%. Today, the unemployment rate is about 15%. It means that it has worsened. And the youth aspect of that unemployment rate is almost 30%. So we have a crisis. The national security themselves, their report says that the unemployment is a security crisis. And so what we seek to do is to do something that would deal with the unemployment situation. Now, the 24-hour economy, I'll use analogy. I explained it the last time, but for the benefit of people who didn't hear. Let's say somebody is in Bourgeoisie. They grow a lot of cassava there. You know where Bourgeoisie is?
Central region.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Because you looked at Abi, so you don't know.
Please. This job doesn't afford me the chance to be a Dadabi.
But even the way she said, Central region cry is near which now? so Bourgeoisie is near Kaswa. Okay, so they grow a lot of cassava. So somebody puts a cassava processing factory there where they produce gari and ethanol. So this man employs 100 people a day, 95. Every month they produce 1,000 bags of gari and 1,000 drums of ethanol. Under the 24-hour economy, we say we're going to set up a secretariat. So the person applies. I'm interested in the 24-hour. There will be two aspects. The private sector.
Okay,
and
there's
the
going to be a
public.
secretariat.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay.
There's going to be a whole secretariat and a policy document to be developed.
Okay.
Now, he comes to register. We'll go and inspect his factory. The first thing we'll do is to put a meter. We call it a time of use meter. So that meter works in the night. So if during regular hours, he's charged maybe 50 cedis per hour for electricity. With the time of use, he'll be charged maybe 10 cedis. You are reducing his cost of production by over 80%. Now, the research shows that, and if you speak to everybody in industry, in manufacturing, they'll tell you one of their biggest cost factors is energy, electricity. So by doing that, you have created an incentive for him to lower his cost of production and then make him more efficient and profitable. Having done that, he now says, okay, I want to also expand and bring in more equipment. We should go to Exim or any of the funds that we would have created. And we have a track record. When we were in office the other time, all the pharmaceutical companies were given incentives, financial incentives to expand production So the track record is there. So it's not something we're just saying. John Mahama has done it before. So we'll give you that assistance, maybe low interest rate or flat rates. And then after that, you want to import equipment. We say you will not pay duty or flat duty. So you bring in the equipment. He's brought in the equipment now. We say, look, maybe he says the road to my factory is not good. Assembly, fix the road. We need to light up the vicinity from the main junction to the road, where the factory is and beyond. So under the Light Up Ghana project, we also light the place. Now what happens? He now, instead of 100 people, he now employs what? 300 people, because he's now doing 3 shifts. Instead of 9 to 5, he's doing 3 shifts, okay, of 8 hours each. His production then goes up from 1,000 bags of Gary to 3,000 bags of Gary.
That is your projection?
No, I'm just using the numbers.
That analogy.
All these are our analogies.
Okay.
And then after that, he now also does 3,000 drums of ethanol. The 3,000 bags of Gary, he has increased the production. What do? We said we'll use government's purchasing power. We have school feeding. We have buffer stock. We said schools should now purchase from these factories. Okay, so we are creating a demand and a supply. So the whole value chain is being what? Activated. Ethanol, you've been importing 1,000 drums. The president says, President John Mahama says, he's going to set up an accelerated export development council, which he will chair himself. And will be meeting with exporters regularly. And so things like AFTA has a lot of potential that we haven't exploited. The potential for AFTA is about $1 trillion within the African continent. These will be some of the vehicles that will be used to create market opportunities for all these imports. So I've given you just one sector, one example. Multiply that by thousands, and you see that you'll be creating more jobs.
What I want to understand is, I think that you mentioned a number of subsidies, for instance, with regards energy and taxes. Who incurs all of these?
So what happens, what works with taxation is that you see now the government has introduced about 40 new taxes. But they will tell you that they are not making enough revenue. If you go to the port, for example, you realize that the volumes have gone down significantly. You've increased the taxes, but you're not getting, because people are not
able to pay.
Exactly. But when you go to Togo are charging less, but there are more volumes.
Right.
So there's a certain psychology and mindset about taxation, which is compliance. That when you make the system more flexible, you have more people using the product and paying the taxes. So at the end of the day, to pay for itself. Number 2, there's a lot of waste in the system. And that's why it's not me saying it. The Auditor General's report tells us that every year we lose about 17 billion Ghana cedis. You are living in a country where over 53 billion Ghana cedis was transferred to an unknown account. These are all waste. You have money under people's beds and all that. So there is so much waste. We are going to reduce the size of government. There's going to be efficiency. So with all this efficiency, you're going to see that there will be enough room to be able to take care of this things. In any case, the cost of having tens of thousands of young people sitting at home unemployed, you cannot quantify it. That's a heavy. In any case, when more people are also employed, they'll also be paying more what? Taxes. So you'll be expanding your tax base.
Okay.
So that's
so
how it
that
works.
is the ultimate solution. So what's the formula?
Which formula?
24-hour economy, 133.
Okay,
Is that it?
yeah, that's what the youth brought about. But I want to, it's not everybody who understands 133. Do you understand me? I want to break it down to the ordinary
That is
person
what I want you to
in
do.
the village. That's what I've done. You didn't understand.
Did you understand?
So simple. I've broken it down to all the various components. So more people will be employed, more people will get jobs. The industrial and manufacturing sector will grow. There will be stimulus in the economy. So that's how it works. Now, when it comes to the public sector, because you are working 24 hours, what it means is that you have to employ more policemen, customs, immigration, etc. All those places, the passport office, for example, that people have their passports there for months and months and months and months. So you'll be creating more job opportunities there. Even in the private sector, to private security companies, transport companies, food vendors. You understand me? Even Momo vendors. When you go to the port, for instance, you have a lot of Vumo vendors, you have a lot of banks, you have a lot of institutions. Once they start working 24 hours, all those entities will automatically, if you are small, you are an SME operating around the port, maybe you are doing food, you are doing this, you employ 10 people. If you are going to do 24 hours, what is going to happen? You have to increase the number of people that you employ by 3 times. So that's how it works. Creates a stimulus in the economy, so every sector will be affected.
I see. Now, you talked about the Momo vendors. Currently, what I know, they close at 8 p.m. because of security situations. What is the plan for them?
So, as I said, if within a certain vicinity, you are operating 24 hours, and you have Momo vendors there who close at 8 p.m., we thought very far about these things. That's why we brought out the Light Up Ghana.
Light Up Ghana.
Light Up Ghana.
Okay.
So all those enclaves are going to have sufficient lights. I talked about security. And so all these would create an enabling environment for them to operate 24 hours. Because the reason why they close at 8, because first of all, there's no business after 8. Everybody's gone home. So what would they be there doing? But if you have people
there are some people that really want to cash out money around 10 p.m. and the like.
That's precisely what I'm saying. That's precisely what I'm saying.
Okay.
So if you're going to have 24 hours, then it means that you have to create the necessary security, make sure that the place is lighted so that they will be comfortable to work and know that they are secure. So that somebody closes from work or is on break can come out, cash out money, goes to buy food from the vendor. So there's a link in every single sector of the economy.
Okay. Now, when you introduce this 24-hour economy policy, I'm just seeing a news report that says that COP Bright-Oduro, retired, he says that the government would have to recruit about 25,000 additional personnel to run the 24-hour economy. Are you ready for this?
I think 25 is even too modest. 25,000 is modest.
And
because if you look at the various sectors, we probably need more than that. But even if you're looking at 25,000, why not? We are more than ready.
And within which period will these persons be employed?
Those are technical issues that will be answered. Mas, I went to school.
Oh, I didn't say you haven't gone to school. I just want to know. Because these
I'm
are
not like Baumia,
issues.
who just answers, talks by heart. Everything I say, I make sure that I have adequate documentation. I can't sit here and say, oh, within this period. No, it's based on the strategy. It's based on the various sectors that are expanding.
Okay.
So you'll be expanding incrementally as we go along. So what do I say? So.
I see.
Yes.
Does the NDC believe in the digital economy?
First of all, since you asked the question, what is your definition of digital economy?
No, digitizing a lot of sectors.
Okay, so first of all, if we talk about digitalization, there has to be a base before you can have digitalization.
Okay.
So digitalization happens when you have the digital infrastructure. Okay, so President John Dramani Mahama, because he's a visionary and he sees far, so he started the process of putting in place the necessary digital infrastructure.
Mahama started it.
Yes. So, for example, the 1,000 kilometer fiber optics from Accra to Boku, it was done by President John Dramani Mahama. Apart from that, you look at the 300 kilometer radius fiber optics for Accra Tema, it was done by John Mahama. If you see the security services, they use Gota phones. We have 119 base stations across the entire country. All these are the digital infrastructure that was put in place by President John Mahama to create the enabling environment for digitalization. So, I mean, he's the one who started it. So, this our friend, he just came and he's come to, do all kinds of things and appropriate things to himself, including Google Maps that people have done. That Google, whatever it is that he said he did. Have you seen any Ghanaian user? Have you searched in any Uber and Ghana, whatever, GPS? Have you seen anybody using it before?
The GPS address
GPS,
system.
have you seen anybody using it before?
I haven't paid attention.
So President John Dramani Mahama is actually the father and grandfather of digitalization. That is why we have, these are facts that are there. You see, these are not things that we are making up. They are there. We did it, and that is why we want to build on that. And so we have what we call the Digital Jobs Initiative. And we're saying that we're going to invest $3 billion together with the private sector to leverage ICT for the creation of jobs. And some of the programs are the 1 million coders program.
Is this captured in your manifesto?
Yes, in our manifesto. I was part of those who wrote the manifesto. It's in our manifesto.
But you have seen similar thing in the NPP manifesto.
Who wrote it first? Who launched it first? We launched the youth manifesto.
So they copied from you?
Of course. It's obvious. And then they will tweak it around, when I hear them say, they don't even have shame. if we say 1 million coders, we wrote it, we thought through it. It's here, it's in black and white. You have a camera here.
So that's the camera.
Yes, it's here. 1 million coders. Digital Jobs Initiative is here. You know, on page 19 of our manifesto, it's here, it's in black and white. Digital jobs. We wrote it. And because we knew that they have the tendency to copy, plagiarize, so that's why we launched our youth manifesto before the main manifesto. All these things, the 133 I talk about, all these things were outdoored at the youth launch of the youth manifesto. Then they went and sat down and they realized that they didn't have a message. Then they picked part of our message and added to it. For example, I'll give you an example. Women's Bank. Women's Bank has been, when Professor Nana Jane was introduced, this was months before our manifesto, she mentioned the Women's Bank. It was one of the key aspects of her address that day. We launched this. We also had a Women's Manifesto launch. Then they come out and talk about women's entrepreneurial fund, something. It's just stealing, thievery, you know. So that's the idea. So back to, and we're saying that we're going to train 1 million coders. 1 million coders. You know what I mean?
But do you have the digital infrastructure to train the 1 million coders?
Of course, I've already told you that we've laid that infrastructure already.
You said you laid a foundation.
No, I didn't say foundation.
You've laid the infrastructure.
If you have 1,000 kilometers, it's not a foundation.
It's an infrastructure.
Yes, it's a digital infrastructure. So everything else is based on it. Let me explain. Let me break it down. So you see the studio in which we are. The reason why it's not a conversation between me and you, and the reason why it's a broadcast, is because there is an infrastructure that carries the broadcast out of this studio. You understand me? So without that infrastructure, we will be having a conversation here. Nobody will hear.
Absolutely.
Do you understand me? So it's the same with the digital world.
Okay.
You need that digital infrastructure as a foundation. So everything else that you do, whether it's web applications, software, hardware, it must run on that infrastructure. And I'm saying that President Mahama, being visionary, put that infrastructure in place. And then also he put in place the Accra Digital Center. It's the biggest in the whole of West Africa.
So that is indicative enough that the NDC started a digital.
It's not indicative, it's a fact. Do you understand me? If you say indicative, these are facts that you cannot run away with. It's there, like in black and white. These are facts, you cannot deny it. The 10,000 capacity ICT center, and then you have another one back up in Ashanti region. All these things were done to ensure that we have the digital takeoff. Now, before entities like Google and all these Microsoft, they come into a country, they do what we call a digital literacy scan. They want to see the number of people who are digitally educated. So that's why we say we're going to do the 1 million coders program, so that we'll train 1 million young people to have the basic skills so that they can develop those skills to the next level. So before those private sector entities come in, when they do the digital skill, because everybody's on Twitter, everybody's on this, they will, you know, sometimes you're on Twitter or something, then there's a survey, right? Sometimes they're trying to find out things. Sometimes it can be marketing. This one, when it comes to digital skills, they want to know.
And how widespread is this? Will it just be in Accra?
No, I mean, it's like saying, you know, everybody who uses a phone is a potential digital economist, or has a potential to get a digital job, right? The digital world has been designed in such a manner that all you need is to be digitally literate, to know how to use a phone, a smartphone. Once you know how to use a smartphone, then you'll be trained. Okay, so that's why I'm saying 1 million. They'll not all be based in Accra, because people outside Accra are on Twitter, they are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they are on X. I'm saying Twitter. Twitter is now what?
X.
X. Okay. Elon Musk is called X. So I don't know whether he's a human being or is something. Then we're saying we're going to have regional digital centers. So that answers your question. Okay. Modeled on the Accra Digital Center to facilitate the expansion of business processing outsourcing and knowledge process outsourcing sectors for job creation. You know, today in this world, you can be here and you can be working for a company in Australia, right? So those are the kind of things that we're going to put in place to ensure that people can work in other countries and all that. Then we're saying we're going to establish a 50 million fintech growth fund. You know, the financial technology sector is growing and expanding. All these payment systems and all those things, so there are things that are growing. And there are a lot of young people who have a lot of ideas that they want to implement. They want to do things. I have a lot of guys who come to me. They've done this app, They did $20,000, $50,000 to buy some tools and equipment. This fund will be populated by seasoned people, Dr. Queno and all those seasoned people, and they'll look at your proposal as if it's a proposal that has the capability of creating jobs and creating more in the economy. Then you'll be given support. Zonal ICT parks will be established across the country. So again, it answers your other question, to make Ghana the hub for innovation, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity in Africa. And the existing ICT parks, such as the Dawa ICT Park. You know, we have Dawa. You know Dawa. Dawa, when you are going to Sugakope, it's on the left.
I see.
They will be redeveloped into world-class centers of excellence. So ICT is at the heart of, well, because John Mama is a very modern person. So
likewise, Baumia.
Baumia is just somebody who likes to joke and copy and talk, you know. So apart from that, we're also looking at rapid industrialization for jobs. And we're saying that we're going to roll out an accelerated program to promote value addition for domestic consumption and exports. And so we're going to establish strategic industries, and then defunct ones will be revamped in pursuit of this. So we're going to set up agro-industrial zones in all regions based on their comparative advantage. So for example, if you take the Bono areas, what's their comparative advantage? Cashew. So what you do is that you situate a cashew processing factory in that zone, not in the district, because if you want to do every district, not in the district, they have contiguous, they have similar products.
So you don't want to do one district, one factory? Because
economically, they are not viable.
Okay.
Do you understand me?
Okay.
We have how many districts? If you have maybe a cluster of 20 districts, and you set up one factory, and all those communities feed that district, isn't it more economically viable than to say you are setting up small non-viable, you know, so that's a strategy. And then we establish mini processing plants for our cassava, tomatoes, fruits, and other commodities, because most of the time, some of these commodities, post-harvest losses account for over 40 to 60% of what comes out of the farms. It's very, very painful when you see farmers toil, and then at the end of the day, a lot of it will go waste. So if you have mini processing factories, it will help. And then we'll initiate plans to establish cocoa processing factories in cocoa growing areas. So Western region is a key place. Akan in the Oti region, for example, Ashanti region, you know, Eastern, Central, Bono East, and all those places where cocoa is grown. And then revive the textile and cotton allied industries, facilitate the construction of at least 20 medium-scale animal feed processing plants, and revamping the collapsing poultry industry. That was what President.
The cocoa kitten that you talk about.
You know, people see what is cocoa kitten?
I don't know.
In English, you don't speak
chicks.
Chicks. Day-old chicks. How do you call them?
How do you call them?
Tell me now. Day-old chicks. What is the tree name for day-old chicks?
Kitten.
That's all.
That's it.
Yes. Day-old chicks. That's why. Day-old chicks. Okay? That's what he said. But because they don't have a message, they don't have anything to say. So, and meanwhile, after they mocked him, then when you go and look in their manifesto, they talked about revamping the poultry sector. How do you revamp?
They say it's ridiculous.
How is it ridiculous?
It's ridiculous that you are talking about, quote and unquote, they said, I even heard somewhere that they said, you provide grass for people that rear cattle. Did you even say that?
That's complete rubbish. That's, you see, when you're dealing with deliberate, when people who are knowledgeable and educated decide to be foolish, you should allow them to wallow in their foolishness. But let's come to, I want to deal with the Nkukon Kitty. And Nkukon Kitty is day-old chicks. Day-old chicks, there's no other name to call them in tree. In Ebe, Koklo that's in Ghana, they call it Wabi. Hello? That's the meaning. So those who say they don't understand, Nkukon Kitty means day-old chicks. And what we are saying is that you want to empower our women in our rural communities. Because the women in the rural communities, they go through a lot of challenges. Ghana is not Accra. People sit in Accra and they think
the
Accra.
women in the rural community, did they express interest in being poultry
Of course.
farmers?
Do you know how my manifesto came about? Our manifesto is as a result of very widespread consultations. The 2020 manifesto, I was the facilitator, went around every part of this country. People brought their inputs. 2024, we did the same thing. In fact, Beatrice was the one who was taking the notes. So the manifesto committee, what happens is that we look at, they did a software, and then they look at the issues, okay? So there were general issues, there were specific issues that focus on specific communities. So if you look at the frequency of occurrence, okay, then you know that these are general issues that people are interested in. If you look at the specificity in a particular community, and one of them was poultry. One of the day-old chicks. Hello. Actually, I think we should stop being silly. And if we don't understand, we don't have comprehension, we should admit it and we'll be educated. Day-old chicks, give day-old chicks. If you give 100, 200, 300 day-old chicks to a woman in a rural area, and you provide that woman with feed, by Christmas, that woman in a rural area will become sustainable, viable. You'll be able to sell those chickens and grow them and sell the eggs too.
Okay.
This is people sit in Accra, and because they are in Accra and they've lost touch with what happens with normal people, they think that everything is about
people in the rural area.
Yes, you know, if you've never, I grew up in a rural area. I started life in a rural area. So my face may look like this, but I'm not a dada, but I'm real with the people on the ground.
No, I
it
mean,
makes
same
a
here,
whole lot of difference for the people. You know the amount of money we spend importing poultry products every year? It's shameful. Almost 300 million US dollars. 300 million US dollars. You know what 300 million US dollars can do? We want to change that. We want to ensure that there is local production. And when it comes to local production, it's not just the large-scale producers, but when you make it community-based, in the communities, they're able to produce. They are selling eggs. Then you are gradually developing a poultry industry. Then the big and medium-scale ones who can grow. So those who want to make mischief, I'm ready for them. They should come. Then we also want to look at reviving the following factories: the Zwarungu Meat Factory, Pualugu Tomato Factory, Wulugu Livestock Station, Commander Sugar Factory, and other strategic SOEs.
Okay.
Then we also look at a big push for rapid infrastructural development. You know, when it comes to John Mama and the NDC.
But you understand that, I mean, I feel like a lot of hard work has gone into creating this manifesto, but you understand that it is possible that you lose the election.
No, it's not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
Oh, because based on what we have put in place, and let me give you a scientific basis.
But what have you put in place?
No, hold on. Let me give you a scientific basis. Okay. So in 2020, the MPP had done only 4 years. Don't forget that in 2016, they won by almost 1 million votes. They had 169 seats in parliament. We had 106. Okay. After their first term, 4 years, don't forget that Nanado had never won an election. And he himself said, try me and see. So people felt that they should give him the opportunity, right? After 4 years, when we went to that poll, with a 1 million deficit, what happened? The NDC's votes increased by almost 1 million. We had about 6.2 million votes, true or false? What was the results? Even after all the shenanigans and all the things they did, if we are taking at face value the results that the EC produced, which they haven't gazetted, the NDC had 6.2.
You call it shenanigan. Do you still think that the NPP didn't legitimately
Yes,
win
let
the
me
election?
not digress. It's a fact. Shenanigan. Have the elections been gazetted? You're a media person. Have the elections been gazetted? 2020, have they been gazetted? They have not been gazetted. So an EC announces results, changes the results, changes the results. They did not sign the third result, fourth result. You don't call it shenanigans. So,
but it's your fault. Your agent was drinking tea and biscuits and not paying attention.
That's the most ridiculous and preposterous thing. Anybody who understands electoral processes, if you want to base anything on an off comment that Rojo said, perhaps in jest, I mean, I don't even have time to explain. Those who say that they are completely ignorant about how
electoral processes.
I see. Work. It's a completely off comment. I mean, you know, and he just responded. I think it was just, and because they want to divert issues, you understand me? It's deliberate to obfuscate the real issues. So they focus on tea and biscuit. Who the hell cares about tea and biscuit? Let's just get to the real issues. So, in that election, with all that they did, killing 8 people, it's never happened before. Even under Rawlings, who was a military man, and all the shenanigans and all the money, COVID money they shared. Didn't you hear the PC for one of the northern regions? She said, Sanarigu, she said they were sharing the money, COVID money to them. Everybody was getting some. She got some. They did all that The NDC had 6.2 million votes. The MPP had 6.7. Okay? Then parliamentary seats. We moved from 106 seats to 137. It's never happened before in the history of this country. First term, an opposition that had 106 seats went to 137. The MPP dropped from 169 to 137. That's why we have the situation we have in Parliament today. This was after the first 4 years, when things were not as horrible as they are today. Today, after all the horrible things that have happened, you think they're going to get what? You wait and see what will happen.
No, but they've been working.
They've been working.
They've been across the length and breadth of the country. They're telling people
And
about
sleeping.
no, you've not been sleeping, but they are still in power.
So, were we not in power and we lost? Was Rawlings not in power? Rawlings, Oklemekuku himself.
Ghanaians were fed up with you.
Of course. So the same way Ghanaians are fed up with them. Ghanaians are fed up, tired with them, because this is a president who, the last time I showed you the kinds of things he said, all the numerous promises that he made, including try me and see. Is this a government that anybody should take serious? With the Baumia, I shall protect the public purse. I am too old to steal your money. I already have my own money. Yet so come there. Try me and see. I am not corrupt and I'll never be corrupt. I can develop Ghana without borrowing. The money is here. I'll transform Ghana in 18 months. I will not operate a family and friends government. I will fight corruption.
You are going up against Baumia.
That's even worse.
Do you have any record of him being corrupt?
Aye, Baumia. Baumia says his master is Akufo-Addo. Special prosecutor, former, that Nanado said he's incorruptible and he's a truthful man. Says Nanado is the mother serpent of corruption. So if the master is the mother, what is he?
No, those are two different personalities.
No, wait, I'm just building my point. And Baumia says he believes in Nanado. Nanado is his master. But Baumia, one of the biggest corruption scandals in this country is the PDS scandal. And Baumia was at the center of it. Are you aware? Baumia was the chairman of the committee that changed the condition precedent to the condition subsequent. And then after that, they now used insurance guarantee instead of a bank guarantee. Are you aware of that? Baumia was the one who supervised all that.
Baumia
and apart from that, I'm giving you, if I say he's corrupt, you say, oh, I'm NDC. I'm giving you the facts behind it. And this is just one example. Wait till I finish. Okay? And then they took money from ECG account to pay those fraudsters. And the company themselves said, these people are fraudsters. We don't know them. And that is what cost $196 million US. And then the US people, they withdrew their money. That's why we are in this mess today. Baumia. Is it not Baumia's office that somebody's rice came to the port, and during Ramadan, his officer went and signed for the rice, 10,000 bags, and Baumia distributed it to Muslims across the country? Is it not Baumia? Is that not corruption? Baumia, when they were in opposition, was talking against single sourcing. Today, Baumia's brother, 90% of his contracts that he's gotten are based on single sourcing. And I say what? All the corruption things that have happened in this country, have you heard Baumia cough about it before? He's at the center of it. He benefits from corruption. He's the epitome. One of the reasons why we must vote these people out is because the only way we can see what has happened to all our money. Auditor General says over 52 billion US dollar Ghana cedis was transferred to an unknown account.
Okay.
Monies here that we cannot see. It is when we have a change of government. When there's a change of government, we say, under the ORA operation, recover all loot. We're going to investigate all that and ensure that we recover the loot and use it for development.
Okay.
We're saying that we're going to set up courts so that all those who are found culpable by the Auditor General will be held accountable.
No problem. Do you trust the Electoral Commission to be fair in these elections?
Electoral Commission, by their conduct, have shown us that we cannot trust them. So we need to open our eyes. By their conduct, consistently.
They are not a trustworthy institution.
No, it's not. Again, this is not me saying it all. Have you read the Afrobarometer report? Have you read it? What did he say?
They are one of the least people institutions trust.
So if Afrobarometer, independent entity, ordinary Ghanaians say they don't trust them, you want me to trust them? Hello? A man and a woman.
The NDC doesn't trust the they are supposed to be the referee in this. If you don't trust them, that signals a really big problem.
Of course it's a problem. You are going to play a match, and the referee, you know that anytime that referee gets the opportunity, he's biased. The records are there. So this is not something. Am I Afrobarometer? Do I work with Afrobarometer? Afrobarometer, independent entity. They came out and the survey results are clear. Every single survey. National Security Report. National Security. They said that the Electoral Commission is one of the institutions that is not trusted in Ghana. So why should I trust them? And then I'll give you facts.
We are wrapping up.
I'll give you facts. This is your 45-minute interviews. I'm just warming up. You're in a hurry to...
You're warming up after 45 minutes.
I haven't started anything. There's more to talk about, I want us to... You brought the subject of corruption. See, this is one of the matters that we have been so fairly untreated, and we ourselves, we haven't spoken about our issues well. So tell your producer to give us more time, because we're going to look into that. You see...
It actually goes beyond him.
The Electoral Commission, by their conduct,
in 30 seconds,
consistently have proven that we cannot trust them. Have you forgotten? Where were you when Bosman Asari said the NDC is the biggest threat to democracy? The referee, he said that. Will you trust such a person? Will you? If you were not? Yes, you won't.
I see.
And consistent. I've been director of elections before. I was in Jimpa Law School. When I was appointed director of elections, I thought I could combine. After 2 meetings with James, I realized that this man is a full-time problem. So I had to leave the law school so I can focus. Everything that is happening today, from register to they are going to print ballot papers and they are not giving the data, consistent. They've all happened before. I can show you press conferences that were same attitude, same behavior. Look, we are going to do in the 2020 elections. When we did the first election, that is a special voting, right? The pink sheets, for so people will understand, there's a portion of it where you do the ballot accounting. The ballots that come in the morning, you record. Then after polls, you check the number of ballots left. And then when you count, you also check. When you total, you'll be able to know if there were any extra ballots. That portion of the pink sheets were removed from the pink sheets. That's a big, she's a working illegality. That's a big issue. And national security, I was there. And Madame Frema told her, go and fix this before the main election. Since December 1, when she had introduced stamps. And those stamps, when we did our audit, we realized that in Ashanti region, most of the polling stations, they didn't have stamps. You know the implication? What it means is that if they stamp the ballots, you don't have a system of checking. So if somebody does this to you, will you say, because she's, okay, will you say you trust?
Elvis, you're wrapping up.
So please, Ghanaians, we have suffered enough. Don't allow the MPP to deceive you. They have messed up this country. Every single sector of this economy is in a mess. We left them an economy that was B-, which is stable. Today, they've taken us to junk status. Our debt to GDP ratio in our time, it was about 55%. Today, we went as far as 104%. The cumulative total debts of this country in our time, it was 126 billion. John Mahama borrowed 54 billion, out of which he was able to do a lot of substantial things that we can point our fingers to. Today, the debt stock of this country is 757 billion with nothing to show for it.
Okay.
So the country is in a mess. All the indicators show. This is the first time in the history of this country that the government has gone into the pockets of ordinary Ghanaians to go and take money from their pockets, both principal and interest. It's never happened before. When you go to your first economic class, what they will tell you is that the safest form of investment is government bonds. Today, Baumia and his MPP, they have shown that theory did not work in Ghana.
Okay.
So it's a disaster. We cannot afford to give this country to Baumia. Baumia is responsible. In one breath, he says he was just a myth. In another breath, he claims credit for things that he says he initiated. If you have the capacity to initiate things, why haven't you solved the major problem that you were brought in to solve, which is the economy?
Okay.
He was head of the economic management team. He has failed woefully, and we cannot afford to give this country to him. Let's vote for John Dramani Mahama, the visionary, the nation builder, so that we can reset Ghana and put it on the path of development.
Thank you very much. I've been engaging Elvis Ifriyankwa. He's with the National Democratic Congress. Clearly, they're vying for power for the 2024 general election. But thank you very much. That wraps up Starr today here on Starr FM. For more news updates, log on to starfm.com.gh. I am Tutuwaa Danso. And this bulletin was produced by Eko Anan, Benjamin Saki, and Prince Essien. We are back tomorrow with more news updates. Have a good evening.